this is one of the rare occasions where two philosophers agree on just about everything that was just said. The other interesting thing is that there's a good bit of fidelity in terms of the sync up with these two talks, without much coordination except for last night over copious amounts of alcohol on the cruise. So, but I want to take a little bit of a different tack. I want to explore soldier bioenhancement through the lens of martial virtue. And I think this speaks to the concern and potential opportunity that Tony just raised, and that's that enhancements are almost certainly going to change the way that we view warfighters in the future, both within the services and within civilian populations. So for the purpose of discussion here, I'm going to offer two definitions at the outset, one of which has already been done, but I have a slightly different take, and that's on bioenhancement, and the second is military virtue. So I take bioenhancement to be defined much in the way that Tony did, which is beyond the species level typical or statistically normal range of functioning for an individual. Examples of human enhancement we've heard all throughout this conference. They include enhancing mood, cognitive functions, physical attributes. And virtues, which I think many of you in this room are familiar with martial virtue. Those of you that aren't, they're generally considered traits of character that can be acquired and cultivated, that are beneficial for both the individual and for others, and are and can only be exercised in service of a good end. So martial virtues, or military virtues, I'm going to be using the two terms interchangeably, are the qualities and traits of character that are specific to the profession of arms, right, to being a just and ethical soldier. So they form the core of the warrior ethos. As many of you know, there's variation across cultures, but the majority of militaries across the globe seek to cultivate martial virtues in their soldiers. For example, you can take the U.S. Army's core values, some of which I take to be synonymous with virtues, or forming an ethos in which virtues are necessary to achieve these values. They're loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. So for those of you paying attention, that's the handy acronym leadership, which is by design, not by accident. The Canadian Armed Forces, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass myself, but as I understand it, it's duty, loyalty, integrity, and courage. You can wait until after to humiliate me if I didn't get that quite right. But we find similar articulations across the globe. So the question is that you're probably wondering is, what does all of this have to do with enhancement? So some philosophers writing in the Australian Army Journal, and I'm quoting, say, there's a real risk that enhanced personnel will challenge the Army's core values to such an extent that they will contest what it means to be an Australian soldier. You can insert Canadian soldier, American soldier, just insert your state. In so doing, they may challenge, undermine, or redefine core Army values, end quote. You know, it's effectively that it's going to change the nature of what it means to be a warfighter. So I agree that such concerns are not entirely unfounded, but they typically revolve around enhancements designed to directly increase lethality. There's no shortage of concern in this area over soldier enhancement, both the popular press and philosophical literature. So I did a quick Google search this morning as I was redoing this presentation because there were so many good ideas that I heard over the past few days. And I'll give you two articles. One, Newsweek, says a U.S. military plans cyborg soldiers with new DARPA project. Popular Mechanics ran the headline, Russia and China's enhanced human operations terrify the Pentagon. But most of these concerns revolve around the idea that enhancement will make super soldiers super killers. While that's indeed partly true, I want to instead focus on possible enhancements designed to enhance pro-social traits in behavior. It's behavior that is considered positive, helpful, and of benefit to other individuals and to society more broadly. It's basically the stuff that you learn in kindergarten. Some examples are altruism, self-sacrifice, empathy, composure, and calmness. We heard a lot of this in the presentations on emotional resiliency, and spiritual resilience. But you basically know it when you see it, right? Helping someone carry the baby stroller up the stairs, giving up one seat on the bus, and so on. These traits fall under what some philosophers call moral enhancement, and that's basically the idea of making humans morally better. So as it turns out, and as we know, that many of these qualities are desirable for militaries to enhance. So for example, restraint, reserve, and reduced stress could be beneficial for soldiers engaged in hearts and minds in counterinsurgency campaigns, where positive relations with the local populations are crucial for success. So early research suggests in mice that the drug ketamine, which is an anesthetic typically used in animals or sometimes used by humans at raves and in parties, may, when used prophylactically, attenuate fears and or stress. And I know it's a big jump from mice to humans, but it's currently on people's minds. And it's evidenced by an article appearing in the journal Biological Psychiatry entitled "From Mice to Men, Can Ketamine Enhance Resilience to Stress?" So similarly, enhanced composure or calmness may aid soldiers under fire. I mean, this is nothing new, you all know this. And promote unit cohesion and loyalty, or reduce rates of sexual assault. So the use of oxytocin is a likely candidate for such a neurotechnological enhancement. Early evidence indicates that this neuropeptide plays a critical role in social cognition, bonding, affiliative behaviors. And I use these two candidates for pharmacological enhancement just as mere examples. I won't get into the weeds on specific forms of enhancement, which are more likely to appear on the horizon, as many scientists in this room have a far greater grasp on this particular area of the subject than I do. So instead, what I want to focus on are a few potential downstream concerns. There are a variety of reasons scholars object to bioenhancement in general, and military bioenhancement in particular. And I'd like to focus on the objection that they're incompatible with virtue or excellence, which must be earned, or it is believed must be earned, or naturally endowed. And I'm not going to be able to resolve this question today, so I'm sorry, it's kind of like telling a joke without giving you the punchline. But what I can do is I can give a sketch of some broad problems that I might believe that this could create. So the animating logic behind the sort of problematic nature of this, or potential problematic nature, is that bioenhancements are somehow unnatural, right? That they are inauthentic, or that they cheapen the acquisition of traits that are otherwise acquired through hard and dedicated work. So a trivial example of this could be the soldier who spends a great deal of her time building strength and endurance, only to find that the weaker, slower soldier has taken a pill that can now outperform her. At its most basic level, the intuition is that it's a shortcut to acquiring an admirable trait of character, and that the shortcut somehow tarnishes this acquisition. So even if this intuition is incorrect, it can still have potential implications for relationships within the armed forces, particularly between the enhanced and unenhanced. It can lead to a kind of resentment. And here I think, and this is, Tony already kind of did the spade work on this for me, but here I think it's profitable to turn to yesterday's discussion on the distinction between optimization and enhancement. So, oddly enough, we didn't talk about this, but I take optimization to be achieving skills or qualities that are within the highest range of expert functioning and are attainable through natural endowment or hard work. Right, Tony running the 8-minute mile? 8-minute mile, okay. But not the 1-minute mile. Returning to the earlier definition, I take enhancement to be distinct from that, in that it's increasing capabilities that are beyond natural capacity, beyond the typical or statistically normal range of human functioning for an individual. So here the soldier might resent her comrade who became optimized by taking the easy path. I'd see them as a little bit of a cheat. But if we turn the example on the head, when the unenhanced soldier does not resent the enhanced soldier because he achieves his capabilities through enhancement, but now might be envious because the capability endowed by the enhancement could never be acquired through even the most hard and dedicated effort. So on the one hand, we have resentment. On the other, we may have envy or jealousy. And these are really the two poison pills of interpersonal relationships. Right? They're destructive to the bonds that militaries work so hard to achieve within the units. So I don't, in my mind, have a satisfactory answer for how to address a potential divide within the ranks between the enhanced and unenhanced, but I have two tentative proposals. First, it may be worth considering having mixed units, where the enhanced work side by side with those who have not had enhancements. This may increase fidelity between the two groups. And this, at bottom, will be an empirical question. The other thought is that we may want to reconsider the term super soldier. And I'm not sure about this, I'm just kind of throwing this out here, it occurred to me this morning. But language matters, right? If the guy on my left is a super soldier, the woman on my right is too, but I don't have enhancements, what's that make me, and how do I feel about it? So this brings me to my final point, my last 3 minutes, over concern about increasing the civ-mil divide. So I think this is reflected in one of the questions posed to us as a charge for the conference, and it was an excellent question, right? I'm quoting, how can the armed forces balance military effectiveness with a stated commitment to reflect society's values and norms? So unlike other forms of soldier enhancement, which enhance abilities directly linked or perceived to be directly linked to increased lethality, many of which Tony discussed, but we could think of drug-induced resistance to pain, or take your pick of how you could be a more lethal killer. These pro-social traits are, generally speaking, considered to be related to well-being, and they're widely accepted as such among society. So in contrast to enhancements linked to lethality, it's less so that the goal of the enhancement, that is the goal of pro-social behavior, that's playing nice with your peers, will raise controversy or objection among the public. But instead, I think that the controversy will be how this goal is achieved, namely through various enhancement technologies. So an analog to this debate here is the opposition that we found in Europe, and I'm not sure if it's the case in Canada, but to genetically modified food. Most of us can agree that increasing crop yields, food nutrition, disease resistance, that reducing food insecurity, these are good things that we want for a society. But we've seen considerable objection not over these goals, these are good goals and good ends, but how they're achieved, the path that we get to them. Genetic engineering freaks people out. So ignoring for the moment that the distinction I made is a little bit of a philosophical sleight of hand between enhancements that directly increase lethality and those that do not. It's imperfect, I know it. Enhancing pro-social behavior and unit cohesion could make units more effective killers. I want to offer just a place to look in closing for guidance on how to move forward on the potential objection to enhancements. And that's the current debate occurring around developments in genome editing technologies. So without getting into the weeds of genome technology, is that there have been advancements over the past few years that allow scientists to edit the genes in organisms, the genetic material, in ways that are faster, easier to use, cheaper, more widely available than pre-existing technologies. And this has raised concern over the potential to create designer babies, weaponization of pathogens, or altering organisms and the downstream ecological effects. I think many concerns that are shared with creating super soldiers. So in short, some are concerned over the idea, like with GMOs, that genome editing is unnatural and gross and impermissible. And I think that the scientific community has been really pretty savvy about engaging in the debate surrounding genome editing because of the lessons learned from genetically modified organisms. So I'll give you just a few examples because I think I'm at the 0 hour. But really quickly, the National Academy of Sciences in the United States and China came together to co-host a series of meetings that were publicly accessible. They issued a report. I sat on one of the panels and talked about the social and the ethical challenges related to genome editing. Basically, they engaged in direct public engagement that was open and as transparent as it possibly can be. And some of this stuff is going to be black budget stuff that can't be, but to be out there. And then the other is that they engaged in good science communication, right? So I think that in closing, that enhancements may lead to enhancing key virtues associated with pro-social behavior, resulting in moral enhancement, that is making us better humans. These virtues are often overlooked and quite possibly don't fit into the existing characterization of warrior ethos, but maybe they should be. And we would do well to focus our attention and energy on promoting pro-social behavior, which in my view will draw less controversy than other forms of human enhancement. Thank you.